When people ask me or make comments about the effect locally on matters that are so far away, I always remember a time when I was in Sydney, Australia. It was during the time of the Tiananmen Square events in China. I was riding in a taxi cab, and as I do wherever I go, I always talk to taxi drivers. He had the radio on, and he was listening to this. And I asked him, "What do you think about this?" And he said to me, "It's a long ways away, isn't it?" And I think about that very often, because I could hear someone easily from the United States, the United Kingdom, or anybody else that's geographically removed from these events to reflect something similar. Well, it's a long ways away. But it does matter, and it does affect people in ways that they don't know. If you look at what's happening in Ukraine, those folks are just as real and human as you are. Russian authorities have boasted that they have taken more than 700,000 Ukrainian children and adopted them into Russia, taking their identity as Ukrainians away, teaching them the Ukrainian language, refusing to teach them the Ukrainian language, and convincing them they're Russians. Now, I think most people think that that's an exaggerated figure, but who exaggerates about committing a war crime or cultural genocide? And if you think this doesn't affect you, it does. There are Ukrainian folks here in Boulder, in Denver, in Colorado, all over the United States. They're on the phone with their relatives and with their friends who are seeking refuge. They're wondering what's happened to their families. And the other thing to think about is that this war is not some localized event. There are Ukrainian refugees, not just in the United States, but millions of them in Poland and Germany and Denmark and Netherlands and France, all over Europe. They'd like to go back to their homelands. They may not be able to. And of course, the threat doesn't just exist for Ukraine. Anyone that thinks that this is just localized Ukraine is wrong. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland, these countries are right on Russia's borders. And in the case especially with Estonia and Finland, they're very, very close. Without American power, there's nobody to stop them. It would take the Germans, the French, the British, the Italians, the Spanish together don't have the nuclear-powered aircraft carriers and the airplanes and the military that it would take if the Russians rolled across the border into Estonia. And we need to do that. We need to support our friends in Estonia. If we don't, they'll then be in Finland. They'll then be in Poland. And there's great historical precedent for this. So I think it affects all of us on a human level. It affects us all when children are being abducted, when elderly people are being shot, when people of all ages are being raped. This affects us. And it spills across the borders, and eventually it will affect our allies, our friends, and our commercial partners. You know, we have a lot of commerce with these countries. If there is a wider war in Europe, it will affect our economy. So I would say to people that think that, well, this is a long ways away, get on a plane and go over there. Maybe it's not so far as you think.